Welcome back to the Mountain Man Medical YouTube channel. Thanks for hanging out. In today's video, we're going to take a look at some dog attacks. These are kind of rough, no gory pictures, but the stories are kind of brutal. So put the kids to bed. Let's talk about that next. All right, guys, before we get into this video, do me a huge favor. Go down below, hit that like or subscribe button. That's a free way to support me here at the channel, so if you got something out of it, it's a great way to help me out. So this story is coming to us from Tecumseh, Oklahoma, where a man was brutally mauled by his own two pet pit bulls. And this was on the 29th of June at about 8:30 in the morning. County deputies were dispatched to the area for a report of an animal attack. Deputy Amber Soule was the closest to the scene. She arrived on scene first, and when she arrived there, she witnessed bystanders trying to render aid to a victim who had been mauled very badly by his own dogs. So once the deputy got there, she says that the bystanders were trying to give aid to the victim, but the dogs were still in the area, causing a massive amount of threat to everybody in the area. Bystanders were trapped inside their vehicle with the dogs running around on the outside. There was another man who was on the outside who had a pitchfork, and he was attempting to drive the dogs off but wasn't able to be successful. The bystanders were warning the deputy not to exit her vehicle and that she should stay in her car because the dogs were so vicious, but she said that she needed to get in to render aid. So she grabbed her tourniquet bag and her medical supplies. And as she got out of her car, the dog started to approach her very aggressively. She says, "It was barking at me, it got within a few feet of me, and then I had to shoot it." So the dog was still acting aggressive. She shoots the dog jumps up and runs off into the woods with the other dog that was involved in the attack. Both dogs ran away into the woods, and then the deputy was able to start treating the casualty. So this is great scene safety. The officer made the scene safe by shooting or eliminating or at least driving away the threat. The deputy goes on to say that she gets her tourniquets and her medical supplies and goes on to start taking care of the victim who had already lost a lot of blood. She says, "There was a white car there that was covered in blood. I grabbed my tourniquet kit and attempted to start trying to get a tourniquet or something to try to stop the bleeding. There was blood everywhere. The whole car was pretty much covered. But there was blood along with both cars, and you could tell that he was actively trying to get away from them and doing what he could to keep himself safe. But at that point, he had already been attacked pretty profusely." The casualty was going in and out of consciousness, of course, because of the blood loss, and she wasn't able to get the entire story of what happened beyond just that the dogs had attacked him unprovoked. And that's all he was really able to say. He gave his name and other types of info, and that was about it. So according to the article that I'm reading, and I'll drop a link to this down in the discussion down below so that you can go and read this for yourself. But according to the news article that I'm reading here, they had pictures that showed the extent of the injuries to this victim, but they were too graphic. They're not going to release that in the news. But it says that the victim's arms were mangled and the muscle tissue was peeking through the wounds, and his legs are also chewed up. So bad injuries to the extremities. This is a perfect place to be applying tourniquets. You're definitely going to need tourniquets. So it sounds like, especially on the arms and legs, those are your defensive wounds. You bring it up your arms to protect your body and your face, and that's where you get bit. This story also goes on to be, fairly sad and heartbreaking. A senior pastor at a local church was contacted, Mr. David Hanigar, and he said that the attack was ironic because according to him, the victim had been contemplating suicide, and the only thing that had kept him from not committing suicide was that he loved his dogs so much, and that without him there, no one would be able to take care of them. And so that's why he didn't want to abandon them, and then his dogs wind up severely attacking him. The pastor went on to say that he had a hard and challenging time recently, and this is going to be an additional challenge for the victim to get past. So I thought I would share that story as kind of an example of the real life scenarios that you might encounter as a normal civilian in the world. Dog attacks happen. Been in multiple dog attacks scenarios with hostile dogs attacking people. I had a couple of Rottweilers attack me and my brothers when we were kids. And out where I used to live out in the country, out on the plains of Colorado, roaming packs of dogs were not that uncommon. People would drive out into the middle of nowhere and just drop off the dog that they didn't want anymore, and those dogs would just pack up. and hunt down food and attack livestock, and became big problems in the area. It wasn't that uncommon to hear about people who got trapped in their homes or in their vehicles by a pack of roving dogs. So not that uncommon in my particular neck of the woods, but you have to be aware of pets. A lot of times pets, we treat them like they're part of the family, and they are, but they are still animals, especially some of these animals that have been bred to fight and kill. Pit bulls, for example. I know there's a lot of people out there who really love their pit bulls. I get it. My sister has a very sweet pit bull, such a wonderful dog, and I've had a few pit bull breeds myself. So I understand what it's like to have a pit bull and how sweet and kind and gentle they can be. But at the same time, they are responsible for a huge number of the attacks, and a lot of the attacks are very, very brutal. I heard it said not too recently that, if a Chihuahua has a bad day, it's not that big of a deal. But if a pit bull has a bad day, everybody knows about it. And also understanding bleeding control, because you never know what's going to happen out there. I appreciate everybody sticking it out and checking out this video here on dog attacks. This was a pretty interesting article. That person was pretty messed up. Arms and legs, tourniquets are super important. Get those applied. Obviously, if both arms and legs are messed up, you're going to need one tourniquet per arm and leg. So you need a lot of tourniquets, or at the very least, how to improvise some if you don't have enough for each arm and leg. Something to keep in mind. Anyway, head over to mountainmanmedical.com, check out our Yellowstone and Wind River trauma kits, and be ready for whatever the mountain throws at you. I'll catch you guys in the next one.